not tight enough. That's it.
This man is being tortured in South London. In London, there's torture. Thank you, thank you. I'm here because I am terrified at our descent into totalitarianism that is typified by the impunity of the British and American and Swedish and all the other states in the world. It seems to me that the rule of law that I am subject to is not applicable to the states that have put those laws in place. And the case of an investigative journalist being incarcerated and tortured for over a decade with zero legal due process applied, which is all likelihood going to result in his death, terrifies the hell out of me.
So where do you see it going from here?
They should just drop the charges and let him go home, but that isn't going to happen because they've made such a big noise about it now that to backpedal would make them all look really, really stupid. However, I'm slightly encouraged because they've allowed Stella Morris onto BBC Channel 4 and she's written a piece in The Independent, which means they've opened the mainstream media door slightly because there's been a blanket on it for quite some time. I've got a grain of optimism that thinks that our government has nothing at all that anybody likes, and there's very little that they can do to curry favour. Releasing Julian Assange is something they could do which would have zero political impact on anything they did or any of their policies, and they could start to look like slightly a good guy in the eyes of the world, and it would demonstrate to the British public that they weren't being America's lapdog. So I have a grain of hope because it's been allowed into the media, but I also fear that Julian Assange and his family, who are being subjected to the similar treatment that slaves and migrants have experienced and are European origin, and I think that the message that's being sent to the world by a coalition of states is that if this is what they will do to a white journalist, what on earth is it going to be like if you're a black dissident?
The general public are very supportive, aren't they, in Australia?
There's a bit of mix. It's definitely swung. When I mean, for a lot of years, like here probably, there was, people had a very superficial understanding of what it's about. The main thing has been trying to convince other journalists actually that it's an issue which affects all of them. It's not just about Julian, but it's about press freedom worldwide. So yeah, well, good on you for coming down here and taking up the pressure.
So what do you think of the British judicial system that has kept him in prison the past 3 years? What do you think that effect has had on Julian and the journalism in general?
Well, quite clearly, I can't comment on the British judicial system itself. Our system's similar, but quite clearly his mental and physical health has deteriorated significantly since he's been in Belmarsh. And the longer this extradition process drags on, the more damage it's going to be to his health. So the quickest resolution of everything would be for the US government to come to its senses, adopt the precedent that was carried out with Chelsea Manning, where Obama commuted the sentence for Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning was actually the source of the WikiLeaks leaks. All Assange did was publish them and reveal them to the world in collaboration with other media organisations, none of which have faced any charges. So it's simply persecution of one person who basically exposed war crimes that the world now accepts were war crimes and embarrassed the US government.
Well, unfortunately, there's been a ping pong between it being a legal case and a political case. And I think even the most avid supporter of extradition would agree that it's been both all along. It's been political and legal. And we do have to hold our legal arbiters to account, as well as the political ones. And in the UK, unfortunately, Boris Johnson and Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, are very much sided on the American side. So we are reliant on the Australian elbow and even Joe Biden to have that conversation in the favour of Julian Assange. And I know Albo can do it, I know he can have that conversation, but he needs to have it soon, because Julian, we all feel, is in a very weak state where he is, and in danger of succumbing to his confinement, and that is not what anyone wants.
Well, we were very disappointed with the decision by Patel a couple of weeks ago, you can rest assured that, speaking on behalf of the Australian Journalists Union, we're not going to let this go away. He's been a member of ours since 2007. But beyond that, it's about press freedom and journalism globally, and we're not going to take the pressure off our own government until we get some resolution to this. So that's where we stand.
Excellent, thank you. Can you just tag yourself at the end here?
Yeah, my name's Mark Phillips. I'm the Communications Director for the Media, Entertainment and Arts Alliance, which is a journalist for Australian unions. The Union for Australian Journalists. Julian Assange has been a member since 2007. In 2011, he won the highest prize in Australian journalism, which is the Walkley Award, the Gold Walkley, for excellence in journalism, for the work that WikiLeaks had done in exposing serious war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we've been concerned about Julian's well-being, and we're concerned about the precedent this sets for journalism globally.
We demand the freedom of Julian Assange, the greatest journalist of our time, a publisher, a multi-award winning journalist. He has been brutally persecuted by the state for publishing truthful and factual information on United States, United Kingdom and allies war crimes in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Palestine, Libya, and many other countries across the world. We demand the freedom of Julian Assange. We demand Julian Assange to be released from the Belmarsh prison, where he has been brutally tortured, and now he has been stripped naked on the bare floor for telling the truth. So we don't want this world to leave a world to our children, where governments can violate the rule of law with impunity, and where telling the truth has become a crime. The freedom of the truth we demand, the freedom of Julian Assange, and jail the war criminals, jail Tony Blair, a war criminal, and we demand democracy.
Good afternoon. I'm here outside the Houses of Parliament today, and I'm going to be speaking briefly about 3 screenings of a film called Hacking Justice about Julian Assange, which the Committee to Defend Julian Assange is screening, has organized screenings of this film, 3 screenings. One at Art House Crouch End, one at Sands Cinema, and one at Act 1 in Acton over the month of July. Hacking Justice was made by Clara Lopez Rubio, who is a Spanish filmmaker, and it chronicles the experiences of Julian Assange and Balthazar Gauzin. Julian Assange, of course, the publisher of WikiLeaks and journalist, who is now incarcerated in Belmarsh prison, where he has been for over 1,000 days, sometimes often in solitary confinement and without charge. Balthazar Gauzin is a Spanish judge who lost his judgeship, if you like. He was the prosecutor of Pinochet and successfully prosecuted Augusto Pinochet, who then obviously was found guilty of crimes of human rights crimes. Then Balthazar went back to Spain, and he began to pursue criminals, corrupt individuals who were remnants in the Spanish administration from the days of Franco. That wasn't very popular with the Spanish establishment, and he had his position as a judge taken away from him, and he became a human rights lawyer, and then began to defend Julian Assange, and has been a defender of Julian Assange since then. The film is about their journeys. The honorable, truthful judge, lawyer, defending the honorable, truthful journalist, both in their different ways persecuted. It starts in 2012. It uses archival material of Julian himself speaking. We get a very good sense of what this man is, who has been silenced completely for the last 2.5 years, and before that as well. So it's a wonderful opportunity to hear him speaking, to see him interacting with his lawyers, to find out how intelligent he is, how perceptive he is about what our governments are doing to us, about the need for a free press, and also for an uncorrupted judiciary. So the film is about that. It finishes in 2021, just before the current period of the extradition proceedings, which have now moved forward to Priti Patel, granting permission for Julian Assange to be extradited to the United States. It's an astonishing film. It's very well done. It's very clear. It's for anyone who doesn't know too much about the case. It's also for anyone who may have reservations about Assange, what kind of person he is what WikiLeaks did actually an important thing. Do come and see it. It's an alternative to the propaganda, the story that is presented by the BBC, by The Guardian, which may be a story that you have heard over these years and maybe believe. Come and see this film, at least to see another side to that story and have your ideas perhaps challenged. We're standing outside the Houses of Parliament to ask the MPs here to call out in defense of Julian Assange. If he goes to the States, where he will be tried on an espionage charge, he is more than likely to be found guilty. In fact, it's a 99% chance that he will be, and he will be sentenced to 175 years in an American prison, which is a death sentence, of course. So that's why I'm speaking to you, why I would very much invite you to come to see Hacking Justice, again, screened at the Art House Crouch End, screened at Sound Cinema, and screened at Act One over the month of July.
Joe Brack here with the Julian Assange Defence Committee, and we're lobbying our MPs and various other people, members of the public, to make them aware of the Julian Assange case. Currently, the defence team of Julian Assange are submitting an appeal to the High Court on the grounds that were found in favour of the US by Judge Barrister. Whether the High Court will grant this appeal is doubtful, to be honest. They're going to possibly be unwilling to investigate her rulings that favoured the US, but maybe it's a good thing if it advances the case towards the European Court of Human Rights. Although we do know it's a lengthy process, and they should release Julian from HMP Belmarsh and let him be on a restricted bail if necessary at home with his wife and children while they decide these legal issues. And let's be honest, in today's technology, he does not represent a flight risk. He is a journalist and publisher. He has a right to work and the right to carry on being involved with WikiLeaks to reveal the very nature and the very source of the government's criminality. And we demand that he has a fair hearing should it go to the High Court or beyond. So we are very worried for Julian's health and safety. The system at HMP Belmarsh is cruel. It's an unusual punishment of strip searches, isolation, and denying him family and legal visits when he needs them most. Denying Julian Assange the right to attend his own court hearings, where HMP Belmarsh come up with some BS medical excuse why Julian can't be delivered to the court, and avoiding the time and expense of giving Julian Assange his human right to actually be present when these judges are making their decisions. He's been denied the right to consult with his legal counsel during these cases. Even when he does have a video link from Belmarsh, he's only allowed a few minutes prior to the case to actually have a conversation with his legal team. This is unacceptable. This is not a legal system that is acting within the guidelines or the legality of our Human Rights Act, or even the UK and the US extradition treaty, which guarantees not to extradite those involved in political issues, and indeed journalists and publishers like Julian Assange should have the protection of Clause 4 of the Act, and we demand that he be treated in a civilised and human manner to answer any charges here in the UK, and to deny the US their blood, the life of a journalist and publisher, an Australian citizen, who we await the newly elected Prime Minister of Australia, Albanese, to come out more openly in support of Julian's freedom. So really, there's a lot to be done at the moment. There's a huge amount of work to be done in the UK. There's more to be done in the US and Australia, where the actual decision-making process is nearer to the seats of power that actually are exercising over this case here in the UK. Right, free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now!
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
There's only one decision!
No extradition!
US! UK!
Hands off Assange!
US! UK!
Hands off Assange!
Free Julian Assange!